happening within the race.
Kontiolahti racing with Tarja Bo in the Norwegian team. Do you think the Norwegians would have won this morning had Kontiolahti raced instead of Olsby?
Quite likely. The penalty loop, you just simply can't say. But Tyrrell with 3 spares, in my opinion, and we'll see it today, she's a slightly better biathlete because it takes the stress away.
The Italians, on paper, if you take all the World Cup positions, Mike, the Italians are the best. Vera Vitozzi, Windisch and Hofer. But Germany, always a force to be reckoned with. Hildebrand Preutz, Hildebrand just missing a win yesterday. And then Lesser and Doll to wrap it up. That looks pretty strong, doesn't it, Mike? Possibly Franziska Preutz, a question mark on the second leg. Sweden, way out of contention in terms of World Cup positions, but Oiberg is an Olympic champion, Samuelsson's an Olympic medalist, so they've got some talent in there. And Jesper Nellin, who goes on the third leg, is very, very quick.
I think this is a good team. I know that if you look at the results from here, the 2 races here, maybe not, but Sweden in a relay, they are conditioned to certainly challenge the podium.
Now, no one in the Russian squad is in the top 30 of the World Cup standings, man or woman. It's a long, long time since that has been the case.
Quite interesting, they put Shipulin in the single mixed relay. Dorana Berg, she's often done the single mixed relay with Martin Fourcade as a kind of a display or enhancing training, and they always won.
Yeah, had Martin been fit, I think that might have been the pairing we saw this morning, but it wasn't. And Chevalier teamed up with Guigenard.
Ja todella mielenkiintoinen pari viesti nähtiin päivällä. Siellä ratkottiin ihan viimeisellä osuudella. Ja viimeisissä ammunnoissa 3 parhaan sijoitukset. Ja olihan eilenkin tuo naisten pikakilpailu todella mielenkiintoinen, kun Darja Domracheva vei voiton vain puolen sekunnin erolla ennen Saksan tämän päivän avaajaa Franziska Hildebrandia, joka pokkasi kauden ensimmäisen palkintokorokesijoituksensa. Eilisen päivän onnistujista myöskin Lisa Vitozzi mukana, eilispäivän 3. Hän starttaa kakkososuudelle Italian joukkueessa ja siellä avaajana Dorothea Viren. And on the screen you can see the tracks for this mixed relay. Ja ratakuvaus menossa tuolla taululla. Tuo 2 kilometrin lenkki kääntyy heti tuolta seinänousun alta tuohon jyrkkään pönkäreeseen, jossa yleisöä varmasti on jo pilvinpineen paikalla. Ja sitten tuo 2,5 kilometrin lenkki, jota miehet hiihtävät, se käy sitten myöskin tuolla kiven nousun nurkilla vähän kääntyvässä.
Внимание на экране у нас показывают карты сегодняшних соревнований. 2 километра и 2,5 километра. Женщины выступают на 2-километровом кругу, и мужчины бегут по 2,5 километровому кругу.
Ja yleensä voisi kannustaa ja pitää hauskaa. Joja Biathlon, siitä on kyse Kontiolahden maailmantapahtumassa 3. kilpailupäivää. Se viimeistä kilpailutapahtumaa kohden mennään hyvää vauhtia. Lähtöön aikaa 3 minuuttia. We have going 3 minutes to the start. And dear friends, dear audience, please remember to smile because you see on television. And please remember to cheer for these great athletes who are entering the stadium. Todella mielenkiintoinen, kun Darja Domracheva
So the Finnish fans not expecting too much, I don't think. Kaisa Mäkäräinen has decided not to race in this one. She's saving herself for her the defence of the yellow bib. She's leading the World Cup standings at the moment. And just to let you know, she's on 6.23, 35 points clear of Anastasia Kuzmina. Mike, talk us through the course.
Well, this is the women's 2 kilometres lap. They're going around it 3 times. Quite a fast first left-hander as we're looking. That's the big wall they've just come up there, and then a fairly easy journey into the range. But after the wall, nothing is easy. You're definitely out of breath. You're definitely in a fatigued state. This is the men's lap. The women turned on that section, the men just a little further down. And this time they came up straight up the big wall. So it's only 2.5, of course, the women 2, the men 2.5. And the extra bit there is on the left course, the extra 500, which the men do.
And relatively flat, but they do drop lower than the women do. So that climb at the end is significantly higher. And just an extra 50 metres of climbing makes a big difference at that stage of the lap.
Well, the snow on, Paddy, just to add a bit of extra spice. Who will want to lead in the fresh snow?
So here we go, the third mixed relay of the season. We had one in Östersund, we had one in the Olympic Games, and we've got a thrilling one here in Kontiolahti about to start. Norway wearing 1, Italy 2, 3 is Germany, 4 Slovakia, Sweden finished 5th in Östersund, so they wear 5, Russia 6, and then France, Finland and Switzerland making up the top 9 teams. And quite an advantage for those who perform well in Sweden, because they get a decent start here in Finland.
Well, Francesca Hildebrand, I was wondering what time she maybe got to sleep last night, in terms of she left the range with a 16.9-second lead in the sprint competition yesterday, and she lost it in the end by half a second.
Now, she was very tired at the end of that race, Mike. She lost, as you mentioned, 8 seconds in the last 500 metres? Probably even less than that.
Yeah, from the very top part of this, the wall coming in towards the finish. But if you hit that wall too hard, it kills you. It ties your legs up. And Domracheva, on the other hand, who had the fastest last lap yesterday, she paced it quite well. She didn't over-push the hill. But right now, Hildebrand, I would say she's on revenge from yesterday.
Yeah, she's looking reasonably fresh. She's wearing 3. Alongside her is Dorothy Vera of Italy. The Italians are strong, Mike. They've got a very, very good squad. It'll be interesting to see what they can do.
23 nations, so it's quite a traffic jam. There's no way on this track, or not an easy way at least, to push your way through this group. Most will want to go into the single cut track there on the right hand side. It's an easier option. It takes the stress out of your legs, and this is the quite fast, I say quite fast, probably 55 kilometers into this left-hander coming up very soon.
Well, Kosheva had a good run for Russia. She leads the way. The Russians 4th here last year. They don't have Shapulin bringing up the anchor leg. He raced this morning in the single mixed, but it's all changed from the squad that raced here last year. So Kosheva, Verolainen, Malishko and Svetkov are the 4 for the Russians. Sweden in the top 5 at the moment as well. You can pick them out wearing bib 5 in the yellow suits. Lynn Persson is on the first leg. They finished 11th in the Olympic Games. That was one of their poor races, 2:30, 2:31 or something like that behind the race winners, France. Slovakia, well, they missed 9 targets, 9 spares required in Östersund at the start of the season, and finished 4th. So if they can improve on the shooting and get it down to 5 spares, then there'll be a real force to be reckoned with.
Claire Egan, she's had problems for quite some time. She's saying, please, somebody give me a spare pole. Where are the coaches? Nobody at the moment until further up the hill, so she's been without a ski pole for some time. She's got one now, and she's off. Claire had a good result yesterday. Her best performance of the season, actually, with a 13th, missing just 1 target. Take that 1 target away, and you're looking at certainly a top 5.
Yeah, a lot of the Americans doing better, coming strong in the closing stages of the season. They might look at their training at the back end of last summer and the early part of this season and think, okay, we know what to do for next time round, because the Americans, perhaps more than any other team, put weight on the Olympic season.
Isn't it strange? Take that weight off, and we saw Susan Dunkley performing very well. Lowell Bailey had one of his best results of the season 2 days ago. And the same with Dorothy Vera. She was a bit subdued at the Olympics, but much better look and sparky feeling to her now.
Scardino going well, Mike. She's worked her way. She was back on the 4th grid. She's worked her way through to the front of this one. And, of course, Scardino bitterly disappointed not to be part of the Olympic relay team that took the gold medal. She did finish 11th in the sprint race, so she's still on pretty good form, leading the way here as they come towards the range for the first time. Vera just behind her, Hildebrand for Germany in 3, Switzerland in 4 with Elisa Gasparin, but no real difference between the leaders. I'd just be concerned that Scardino has worked so hard to go from back in 12th, 13th place up to the front.
Well, it's almost out of character. We've known for the last 10 years that she's one of the best shots in the world, if not the best, especially on the big days, but she's always lacked a little ski speed. But leading it is definitely surprising right now, or inspired maybe from that Olympic gold medal in the women's relay, not the mixed relay.
Well, I wonder if you did 1,000 shots at rest and then the same after intervals, so basically shooting at rest or shooting with a high pulse, whether there'd be any correlation between the top 5.
I think there probably would. If you look at, there won't be that many athletes who could say just going from stand prone for say 200 shots and hit all 200, you know, so I would imagine Scardino is able to do that. So you're so centered when there's no physical out of breath, and then you put yourself in this state and Scardino can still do it, so she would probably be quite close to that same score.
Well, she's going to be one of the first to settle on the map because she's number 11. Vera and Hildebrand have a little bit further to go before they prepare, so what, 5-second advantage for Scardino at the moment. Might be a good opportunity to put pressure on some of the bigger teams. Norway in lane 1. Synnøve Sulumdal, 23rd in the World Cup rankings after a really good start to the season, getting a 2nd place in the individual in Östersund. And Switzerland with the first 4 down, 5 goes wide. Just looking, Scardino has 4 out of 5 now, so taking a long time to get those first shots away. And good performance. I think that was that Lithuania coming through?
I think it may well have been. Dorothy Vera having huge problems. 2 targets remaining, 2 shots left.
So 15 seconds at least thrown away by the Italians. Kazakhstan it is, with Raikova, who have had a very good start indeed. And they were right down at the far end, Kazakhstan, wearing bib number 23. So Hildebrand 10.5 behind. Dorothy Vera, Mike, that's what, 25 seconds lost early on. That's a big surprise, and Italy rely on Vera to produce a good result. But didn't this happen in the relay at the Olympic Games, where she missed in the prone and then shot the best standing shoot of the whole race to get Italy from last to first?
Strange. Look at the snow going through the target from top right to top bottom, and look where the shot's missing. That wind is blowing the shot low left and or low. And really, she hasn't quite read what's happening there with this slight change in conditions.
So again, low left, but just inside on that shot. And here's the last one for Vera. Low left again. So very good grouping, but all slightly low left. So Vitozzi will be warned. Welcome back to Kontiolahti. Still on the first leg of the mixed relay. 2 female legs go first, and Marie Duranabert leading the way. And this is a resort. Is it a resort? Not quite. It's a biathlon stadium where she has had some fantastic results in the past. Of course, getting those 2 gold medals in the World Championships back in 2015. Hildebrand still looking good. Actually, I think Hildebrand looks as good as she's done all season, Mike. Just that tempo, that speed is there.
It's great, her form. And again, I mentioned it earlier, the freedom of thinking and the pressure off the shoulders after an Olympic Games. It changes things. I think it's changed things for Duranabert. So this is where the women come straight into the bottom of this climb. The men drop further down before the climb up this horrific hill. 37-meter rise over, what, about 220 meters distance. After shooting one, Patrick, for the first time, a Korean Moon in 4th position. Perfect shooting, 4.9 seconds behind. She's losing her way a little.
Yeah, she's now 11 down and has dropped out of the top 10. But as you can see, it's very, very tight here. And Kazakhstan still right up there. But the danger teams, definitely France, Germany, Russia, Italy. Any sign of Dorothy Vera? She lost a whole stack of ground. She was over 20 seconds behind coming out of the range.
Yeah, 21.7. So on the track,
she's got that back to 12. So Vera is working hard, but she's going to come up against a roadblock.
12 is good though, and remember what she did at the Olympics. She lost a massive deficit. She came back into the stand and did the most, the fastest rapid 5 out of 5 in the stand to take Italy back to first again.
Well, it's not often you see bib number 21 leading a relay event, but that's the situation we've got here. And Egan of USA doing really, really well. And the Americans with Joanne Reed, they use Susan Dunkley. They'll probably be thinking, no, we should have put Susan on the second relay. And, you know, with Tim Burke, Lol Bailey, Susan Dunkley, Claire Egan, they've got a decent squad.
Very much so, but it may be, I mean, you're scoring good Nation Cup points in both of these, the single mixed relay and this relay, so teams are just balancing it. Where do we put our key players? Do we want to go for the single mixed relay and gain big points there, or can we do a quartet and get all our points here? But great to see America leading into the second shoot and looking easy, and that's after the broken pole for what, about 400 meters, so on the first lap of 2 kilometers. Great comeback.
Hildebrand shot the perfect 10 out of 10 yesterday. She's got an 86% hit rate in the stand for the season. If we look at Duranabert, she's on 82, so a slight advantage to the Germans there. As for bib number 21, we've got Claire Egan with 66. So if she hits 5 out of 5, that is an exceptional shoot. She missed one in the stand yesterday, so maybe she can go one better. She certainly seems to have been pacing her, hasn't pushed it too hard on this loop. Watch the abdomen, watch the breathing rate. Yeah, I think she looks pretty well controlled.
Very, very composed. Can you... In old biathlon, we'd only see about 3 teams together at this point, but look, so many teams. 21 teams still side by side.
Hildebrand. There's her first miss for Germany. USA still clear. Belarus struggling. And as I said, Egan throws one wide. Belarus with a chance to take the lead. No, they missed that. It's Ukraine who clear all the targets. And that's very, very quick shooting from them. So Ukraine leading now as they come out of the stadium. Duranabert, is she in a spot of bother? 2 spares used.
Claire Egan missed the first of the chances with the spare rounds.
Hildebrand, Mike, I said the pace was steady. It was obviously a little bit quicker than we thought because all those leading teams had lost ground coming into the range. It was USA, France, Germany, Belarus, and none of them in the top 3 now. Belarus sort of get away unscathed, out in 4th place.
Czech Republic, it's gone horribly wrong there for Pushkarshikova. She's on the penalty loop 3 times, I think it was.
Oh, so is Egan. That's a real shame. Such a good start from Claire Egan, and losing a lot of time. Finland on the penalty as well. Mark Kigner looking reasonably happy. I'm not sure why, because Hildebrand has dropped down too. Well, she's not even off the penalty loop yet. Here she is, coming around. How many did she have to do?
I think he was looking in disbelief after a great performance yesterday, second by half a second, and I thought she'd carry it today as well, but she's 53 seconds behind.
Yeah, the work rate up the big climb, obviously a little too high for some of those leading teams, and the chasers have worked their way through without any problem at all. So it's Belarus who lead, the team that, in fact, it's Ukraine that lead with Merkushina, Kazakhstan 2, Russia 3, Belarus 4. Well, how about that?
You wouldn't predict that, Scardino. Yeah, 4th, 11th in terms of ranking, 10th in terms of ranking. Merkushina leading the way. It's all changed. That's why this race is it's unpredictable. Short laps, 2 kilometers, and the 3 spare rounds on a windy range spices things up.
Well, here's the gap between the leading 6 teams, next to nothing, but they're on their way round to the first exchange, so they can afford to give it 100%. And this is where, again, you benefit from not taking that second lap too hard, and especially with the wall to come again, Mike. You know, you could argue that you're much better to ski at 85% for lap 1 and 2.
It does make you wonder, and it does make you appreciate how strong these athletes are when you look at this terrain. Okay, you've had recovery down the fast descent, but now you're climbing, then a quick recovery, then the wall, and then back up to handover.
Rykova going strong, and Kazakhstan aren't used to taking over in first place. They've got Daria Klimina next, and then Roman Yeremin, who we saw at the Junior World Championships. He looked a talent, but didn't really cope too well with the sprint situation up here. 11, you might recognise the technique. A Domracheva look-alike, Scardino. They've all sort of modelled their technique on Daria Domracheva. That's better. Switch cameras when someone's rude enough to stand right in front of the camera. He would have got some short sharp from the cameraman.
He certainly would have. Well, Norway a little lost, not much, 10 seconds. Some major surprises. France still there, obviously at 3 seconds behind. In fact, Duran Aber, I think, will be trying to move forward, take the lead soon.
Well, it looks as though Russia are going to try and make a break with Juliana Kaisheva. She's in the maroon colour. Now, Norway, you said 10 seconds behind. I'll have a little wager with you, Mike, that they're 15 behind by the time they go through the next split, because I thought Sulumdal looked very, very tired. But just as I say that, she speeds up the tempo and seems to be climbing okay at the moment.
Yeah, she's climbing there. That's good. Still going to be around 10. In fact, it's going to close a little, but the hill, it can take a lot out of you. We saw that with Hildebrand yesterday. She was still 8 seconds up at this point, and then lost the race just between here and the home straight at the stadium.
Sulumdal on 11.4. She's lost a little bit, but nothing too significant. Still 10 teams within 15 seconds. That's the sort of situation we enjoy. Here come Canada, and the Canadians racing Emma Lunder. Julia Ransom, who's one of the best shots on the tour. She goes on the second leg. And then Scott Gow takes the third leg with Brendan Green bringing up the rear today. Austria, Mike, I guess with Hauser and Julian Eberhardt racing in the single mix this morning. They're a weakened team.
Yes, they are. And what about Hildebrand? She left the range, what did I say, 53 seconds, I think it was, Germany, 53.5.
Yeah, she got it back to 47 by 5.1. But,
yes, still 47 actually, said 47.4.
Yeah, she's still going to be a long way off now.
Did Kaisheva think she took the wrong turn?
Well, I think she did. I think she wasn't fully aware. She wouldn't be the only one to have done that this year. What a situation for Stadlober in the cross-country 30-kilometre at the Olympic Games. In silver medal position, she took the wrong turn. Can you believe it?
The medal was practically round her neck. She had a 12-second gap. There was only 8 kilometres left off the 30k race, so that's when things sort out. And she was, well, she may never get that opportunity again.
So who's impressed you on this first loop?
Well, I must say Kaisheva has come through to surprise, and Rykova, who's led a lot of this, led after the stand shoot for Kazakhstan. She's dropped back a little now. That's always good to see a lower-ranked nation. They've had their scandals this week, though, with their doctor. And I'm not reflecting that at all on the athletes, but they've banned the doctor, Dr. Tagayev. for some dodgy substances in his room, and that was back in Italy.
Yeah, that might be the way to stop doping, get rid of all the doctors. But what's the doctor doing with it if the athletes aren't using it? It's a very, very strange situation, but they were raided last year during the World Championships. I think, where did it happen here last year as well?
Wilson, and then Italy, just after Christmas.
So here we go, first exchange, and a very good lap from the Slovakians. Paulina Fialkova, who hands over to Ivona, has done well. And France still the danger team up the front. France, of course, the silver medalists at the World Championships last year. They went one better in the Olympic Games. What a fantastic goal that was. And the French certainly no real mistakes so far. Norway with some work to do, and they hand over 19 seconds behind. Tyrrell Eckhoff is going to have to turn it up. 3 2-kilometer loops to close that gap. Only 2 teams without a mistake on the range so far. Poland, who are in 9th position, and Ukraine, who are now 7th. And actually, Slovenia have also shot the perfect score. So 3 teams clear after the first leg of this mixed relay. Germany, work to do, Mike. 57 behind. Wow. That certainly looks as though the end of the race yesterday from Hildebrand has cost her today, because she had nothing to give on that last loop.
She's dropped it back to 57, so the 2 Francescas. Normally we see Preutz leading out. She's a good starter. She did make one poor showing in terms of starting this season, and I think today that's why they put her in 2nd place.
One of the fast sections of the course, the dainty little step turn. Your feet need to be very quick, and that's one of those awkward corners where it just gets tighter and tighter as you go around the bend. And
I used to think, why haven't they banked this bend up? It would certainly help your exit if you could get your pressures along a bank, but it makes it more exciting this way. Snow's not that fast today because it's quite cold here.
Well, Anaïs Bichon on the right of your screen looking very comfortable, as does Ivona Fialkova, only 63rd in the World Cup rankings, as opposed to Bichon's 12th. Bichon's had a pretty handy season, really. And the French women, you know, they've got strength in depth, Mike.
Well, they have indeed. Composed on this first. You mentioned the pacing on this first lap. I think it is important to keep it within, but then if you're chasing, you've got to put the work in to close the gap. So you can dictate a little when you're leading, but not when you're chasing.
Yeah, and the other way to look at it is if you've been given a 15-second lead over the likes of Italy and Norway, you want to take advantage of that. It's a very brave athlete who says, I'll just cruise to the first shoot.
Well, you can see the chasers, and I thought that Canada, at the start or on the handover, I thought it was a very, very aggressive start from Julie Ransom. We've just got off her now. What about the Fialkova sisters? Ivona now there, bib number 4. That's a good team, the Slovak team.
Yeah, Bartko, bit of a question mark on their 3rd leg. Bartko hasn't scored any World Cup points this year. He's going to be put to the test, especially if Slovakia can stay in the top 2 or 3 come the 2nd exchange. Russia still there or thereabouts. Virolainen going well. Pisareva of Belarus 7.5. Eckhoff has closed the gap from 19 down to 8.9. And there'll be one nervous shooting coach, her brother, in the range at the moment, thinking, oh my goodness, how do you shoot prone after an effort like that?
That's a big effort, but I love that in Tyrrell Eckhoff. She's just like an attack machine. She knows that I want to close that gap. I don't care the consequences. I'll hunt it down anyway.
Yeah, we saw Johannes Tingis skiing in similar fashion on the 2nd lap of the single mixed today. This, you know, his 2nd lap of his 2nd leg. And he paid a big price for that in the closing stages.
He did. He suffered, and it's very rare that we see him get beaten in the last 400. That happened today. He had no spark left. Sweden back in the race at only 34.9 behind. And Persson did nothing wrong. She only used 3 spare rounds. Yes, it could have been a little better, but her skiing was a little flat. But it's still a very good quartet with Öberg now, Nellin and Samuelsson, if not the winning team. well. And then we look at France, that's a great team as well.
Top 13 teams have all avoided the penalty loop so far. Germany have been on it. They're the fastest team, having done a penalty. 5 targets missed by Hildebrand, but most of them came on the same shoot, which is why she ended up doing an extra 150 meters. USA have done a penalty loop. Rasimachude of Lithuania has done a penalty loop as well.
One target missed for the Germans?
No, one penalty loop ski.
One penalty, okay. I thought you said 5 targets missed.
Well,
that would have been
they've in total.
Okay.
Spare rounds? Ring a bell?
4, yep. Still confused. So France composed. Vera Leinen, she messed up a little in the stand yesterday, but generally better in relays when there's 3 spare rounds. And the wind, we saw when Dorothy Vera was shooting, it came a little bit, the snow was coming from the right of the target. Now it's back to left again. That might trip up a few athletes.
Last shot going wide for France. How expensive is that going to be? And Ace Béchon just losing her concentration. The first part of the shoot looked very good. Norway, 4 out of 4 so far for Tiril Eckhoff. She throws number 5 wide.
Well, Vera Leinen getting the biggest cheer there. So many Russians coming, what, it's only 60 Ks, 50 Ks to the border. And not that far from St. Petersburg up here either.
Now, Tiril Eckhoff, Mike, got the gap down to 10 seconds. She actually got a little closer from that. She eased up coming in to shoot, which is probably why the first 4 targets went down. She's now back to 15, so she's got to do it all again. Might be advised to take this lap steady and then save something for the last lap, where it really doesn't matter how hard you work. Will the coaches give that sort of information? Will they make an assessment of the situation, or will they leave it to Tiril Eckhoff herself?
I think they'll leave it to Tiril. Oh, look at Oiberg on the penalty loop. Oh, Sweden, that's such a pity. She did attack on that 2 kilometers to pull back time.
Germany, they get the 5 down, but really to get back into contention, they've got to have a couple of visits where they just do 5 with no fuss at all. It's not usual to see Germany and Canada fighting it out at this stage of a relay.
Julie Ransom again, that aggressive attack through each ski in the background there. But Germany will be so surprised to be a minute 8 behind right now.
Now let's see the shots from Ace Béchon. Welcome back. Bib 10 belonging to Ukraine. They had the lead on the last lap. They've gone back down into 6th position. It's one of those yo-yo relay races going on at the moment, which is just the way we like it. It keeps us in suspense. The French looking convincing, Mike, and despite the fact that Martin Fourcade isn't racing, they've still got Simon Dessieux and Quentin Fillon-Maillet, who is on good form for the first time this season. He's had real issues at home. His partner isn't well, and I can't help thinking that that's been more of a weight on his mind than the pressures of racing. I
think so, and looking at his shooting and at the Olympics, we were wondering it had gone off the boil, let's be honest, and if you've got something troubling you or on your mind, it does not help being so centred and focused as you need to be for hitting targets.
So 13 seconds separating the top 5. Number 11, that's Belarus, with Pisareva, Vakarnikov and Chapelin taking 3 and 4. So they could do what they did in the women's relay at the Olympic Games, but it's going to has to be a virtually perfect performance from here on in.
And of course resting Domracheva today, and when the points are getting serious, and she of course took the victory yesterday, that's going to do her cause a lot of good.
Yeah, Tiril Eckhoff's gone well, Mike. Got Norway back up into the top 3. And the Norwegians, they need their women to be certainly in the top 3, I think, if they're going to win it. Labe Lund and Tarjei Bo, both great biathletes. Tarjei Bo 6th in the World Cup standings. He was on good form early season. What do you make of his form at the moment?
Yeah, no, I always believe that Tarjei Bo, for me, is always a good anchorman. I hope he doesn't let us down today, having said that. But that's where I would use Tarjei. He's a safe set of hands most of the time. And it is a strong team. Labe Lund, yes, he had a very good performance yesterday.
So shooting number 4 back into the standing position, and the wind still predominantly from the right. They've already had a mix this weekend.
Zingerle.
Now, one thing we really noticed, Mike, from when they zeroed their weapons to now, the light has changed dramatically.
It's unusual. At the Olympics, they always zeroed in darkness to race in darkness. It's unusual that your zero time is in daylight when you're shooting in the stadium lights.
So France versus Italy. Vitozzi throws the first one wide. She's starting to shoot faster and faster, Mike. 3 out of 5. That's okay. 3 rounds to hit 2 targets. Needs to settle it down. A little bit of nerves from the French. And this really does give the chasing teams an opportunity. Could be Italy who go out in first place.
Vitozzi went for the high-risk scenario, shooting so fast and having to use now all of the spare rounds.
You can hear the crowd. They like what they see in terms of the Russian targets, but that's gone wide. A penalty loop for Russia, a penalty loop for France, and Tiril Eckhoff of Norway's in danger of going on the loop as well. 2 rounds, 2 targets. Russia. So yeah, now Tiril Eckhoff really is under pressure. Ukraine might have gone back to the front of the field. Some brilliant shooting from Vita Shemarenko. Where all else failed, she just held her nerve, and probably more importantly, she took the first 15 seconds. She just was very calm, very patient before she let the first round go. Norway get away unscathed in terms of the penalty loop, and that means that Tiril can do some work on the last lap. Vitozzi now 9 seconds behind, having done a penalty, so that's pretty quick skiing.
France, now this is a big setback because she took an age to get those 5 shots off to use the spare round. So Anaïs Bichon went for a slow strategy, it didn't work. Vitozzi went for a fast strategy, that didn't work either, but at least it was quicker in and out of the range.
Now, you often took the first leg, so you didn't have to sit there watching the person before you perform.
Yeah.
But when that said person has a disaster, what's going through your mind and your body?
It's horrible. Later in my career, I was going last or anchor leg, and you stressed, actually. You couldn't but follow the race, even though you're focused on doing your warm-up up, but it really affects you. You know that there's a lot of work to be done.
Bichon at 50 seconds behind. That is disastrous. 2 penalty loops for the French. Japan, USA, Poland just clear the targets, but it's Russia, Slovakia and Ukraine who led on the first leg. They're back up front again. Italy 4, Norway 5, and Kazakhstan with Klemina are down in 6th position. Well, the leading athletes on the race for the third exchange, and or the second exchange, I should say, because we're waiting for the last 2 legs to come. Fialkova it is with the lead. Now, I'm interested to see what Tiril Eckhoff can do this time round, Mike. Remember, she really put the hammer down on lap number 1.
She's doing it again, Patrick. She exited the range at 17.8 already.
She's got
phenomenal. 9 of those seconds back, and a lot of that was on the downhill section.
Yeah, I think the men in the Norwegian team, Labe Lund and Telje Bo, can be grateful for that. Shooting hasn't been brilliant, but no one's been shooting that well. We've got Ukraine, who've only missed 1 target so far, 1 spare round required by them. That is good shooting, but they're on their own, I think, Mike, in terms of high standard of shooting.
They are. Estonia, the next best, missing just 4, so 4 spare rounds. The same with the Russians. That's good shooting, and Virolainen did well there to hold her nerve. And it's great to see the younger Fialkova, Ivona, on good form. This is the best form she's been all season. It was a great result yesterday by her standards.
Yeah, I think she's about to get swallowed up by Russia and Ukraine, who are coming through, and Tiril Eckhoff is getting closer. Now just 7 seconds, 10.5 seconds gained on the leaders since she left the start. She's not got a huge amount left. Another 700 meters to go from this split point. And Vitozzi at 9, she started 9 behind, so no gain, no loss for the Italians, but that penalty loop so expensive. Without it, they would still be leading here in Kontiolahti.
Look at Anaïs Bichon. I know that she's got a unique style coming up, a steep climb, but she's really suffering now from taking so long on the range, being on the penalty lap, and the French team now really losing their way in this race at 51 behind.
Yeah, Germany, Mike, lost a lot of time, lost 50 seconds with 1 shoot, the second shoot on the first leg, and they're still 59 behind. So Francisco Preutz hasn't been able to close the gap. It's now down to Eric Lesser and Benedikt Doll. It's a good combination to finish off the German mixed relay, but they might find it pretty tough to catch up with the leading teams. Italy and Norway, now, would you say they're the 2 danger teams at the moment, Mike?
Well,
or do you think Ukraine can do something? You were very rude about them this morning, saying they've done nothing all season.
I certainly was. You always expect at majors Ukraine coming together and getting medals, and for the first time in many, many years they haven't, but they're really back in form now.
So Russia prepare for lap 3. Dmitry Malishko, only 77th in the World Cup standings, but he's much, much better than that, and he should be able to hold his own on the 3rd lap. Eckhoff, who started, 17.8 seconds off the pace on this last 2-kilometer lap, has closed it to virtually nothing and done a nice job for Henrik Labe Lund. Pretty consistent, Labe Lund, in terms of the shooting. Just a question of whether he can cope with the relay situation as we get towards the end. The pressure goes up.
It certainly does, and Labe Lund, it used to be a shooting there which let him down, but he's got that kind of, not mastered, but he's a lot better now. Just missed one shot yesterday, finishing 11th.
So Slovakia get away in first position. Ukraine and Russia are right up with them. Only, what, 5 meters between the leading three. And Norway in fourth position at the moment, 3.2 behind. The Italians at 6.8. So good finish from Vitozzi. She worked well over that last 500 meters or so. And then chasing them in, team number 23, still having a very good run. This is Kazakhstan. Daria Klimina, who will be handing over to Roman Yeremin.
Yeremin, we saw some really strong performances from him at the Junior Youth World Championships. We saw him involved at the Olympics, 4 races, in fact, at age only 20.
Now, what are the chances of the same 3 teams that finished on the podium in Pyeongchang doing so here? It was, of course, France, Norway, Italy in the gold, silver and bronze medal positions. The French are the team that have a lot of work to do. 58 seconds back. Those 2 penalty loops. What was going through the mind of Anaïs Béchon? Not very unusual to see her shoot like that.
Surprised. I was so surprised. I think she's suffering on the track, Anaïs. We saw that on the final climb, but this is a real spiced up, exciting race.
Yeah, good speed, 45 k's an hour at least into that corner. So change at the front. Ukraine take their turn. It may not last long because Labe Lund showing good ski speed, good skills round the corner. Carried nice amount of speed into the base of this climb.
I think those
he's looking strong.
He's looking strong. He's pulled those 7 seconds back effortlessly, and now he's going to try and extend this. I would say he's the fresher athlete, less race than any of those in the pack there. And Hofer, is it Hofer? No, sorry, Vindish. The Italian just detached, but closing it down.
Now we see a lot of the athletes, really the team technicians and the helpers, doing hour after hour of ski testing, Mike. How long did you think it took you to work out that you had a decent set of skis on your feet?
Oh, you can figure out you know your bases by this, you know your best skis by this time of year, but the technicians now are testing them, you know, over the distance, over the 7.5 kilometers, fractional differences. So they're testing them at 5Ks, at 6Ks, at 7, and trying to find the wax which gives you the best results all the way.
And of course, you know, there'll be different conditions on different parts of the course, especially somewhere like Kontiolahti, where down in the dips the temperature could be 2-3 degrees colder.
Very much so, with the lake just, as we look down there, the lake just to the left, 2-3, sometimes 4 degrees difference. Remember the world champs when it was minus 23 here, and it was minus 27 down the low point of the track. Sweden back in the chase. Jesper Nellen is a lot of work, though. He's 57 behind.
Yeah, which World Championships were you talking about? Because it wasn't that bad in 2015. We had a lot of wind in 2015.
Oh, I'm talking prehistoric times.
Yeah, I think
99.
I think Mr. David Goldstrom was on duty then, and we had a daily phone call saying, "Send me another coat. This one's not warm enough."
I could hear him when we were here in Kontiolahti when he was talking in Joensuu. No, he was holding court here when the races were cancelled.
Well, here's the situation, and it's a tense one. 5 teams within 5 meters, and Norway with Labe Lund setting the pace. They've got to be just a fraction careful. Artem Prima of Ukraine, easy to confuse with the French colours, but the French are wearing bib number 7, Ukraine in bib number 10, and those, of course, their finishing positions in Östersund at the first mixed relay of the year. Last year here, Mike, winning time for this race, 1 hour 11, just over 1 hour 11, I think it was. France again taking the win. Simon Dessieux, who takes the 3rd leg today, took the 3rd leg then.
Oh, well, that's got to be a positive, but right now there's a whole lot of work, hard work for Dessieux to try and pull this back.
Kazakhstan still doing well. Germany have a lot of work to do as well. Germany were 56 down coming out of the stadium. So let's see whether Eric Lesser's managed to make some ground. I don't think he's made not a significant amount, if any at all.
54 and
2 seconds.
Nail in there for Sweden. I think they're just, yeah, it's not a comfortable pace, but they're not going crazy. Andy Stitzel, the best coach trackside, still running up the top part of this hill.
Well, which way are you going to call this with half the shooting still to go?
Well, I did say that Labe Lund has improved massively, but often in his past when we've seen him leading, he found that more difficult than chasing. So he's now got all the responsibility coming into lane 1 in first position.
So you're going for Norway?
I'm going for him making a couple of mistakes.
Okay.
So let's have a look. I think I'll go Malishko.
I've got a good feeling for Italy today. Their last 2 legs. Dominic Vindish, who's at the back of this group in 5th position, and he'll hand over to Lukas Hofer, who's not had a bad season. In fact, it's his best ever season, 8th in the World Cup standings at the moment. So here we go. First 5 teams settling. Norway, Ukraine, Slovakia, Russia and Italy, in that order.
We've got Artem Prima in there as well from Ukraine. Of course, he's a top-class shot. Missed the middle one as soon as I said that. But Labe Lund, he's gone back to his old ways. He's struggling.
Guess who's going out front again? Dmitry Malishko. And he's going to have at least 5 seconds to play with. Ukraine will be second. Labe Lund and Norway needs to do something. Dominic Vindish has got to tidy it up if he's going to keep my predictions honest. And the gaps are going to be fairly significant this time around. Italy at last clear their 5. And Slovakia with 3 misses. That could be the end of their chance of winning here today.
Oh, Labe Lund, what a pity. He came in first. He didn't do anything too badly wrong, but he just took a long time doing it.
Now, is this the wind changing, Mike, or do you think the change in light, remembering that they zeroed in daylight, do you think that's fairly significant?
It is significant. You can't see quite as clearly when you zeroed earlier. The pupil opens a little more. Now it'll be, of course, it closes more in the light, so it's an open pupil now. But the wind, I think, is the main issue that's changed at the moment.
Well, that was a good shoot from Simon Dessieux, 5 out of 5, and he was coming into the range. He was 52, so he might have cut that. Well, he hasn't cut it at all, which is surprising, but he's got himself up into 5th position, having started in 6th, but at least he's going the right direction.
And Vindish, using 2 spare rounds, he's now 20 seconds off Malishko's time.
So Russia have the lead, 8 seconds ahead of Ukraine. Norway in 3rd position, having led into that 5th shoot, and Italy some 20 seconds off the pace of the leaders.
Okay, now he starts with Finland and with...
3.6 kilometers gone of leg number 3. We're coming towards crunch time. Just looking at the winning time, just a reminder, 1 hour 11. Don't suspect it's going to be too much longer or too much quicker than that tonight. The conditions, snow conditions, have been good. It's been so fantastic racing on natural snow. We didn't see a flake of it out in Korea.
No, we didn't. Oh, there was one night when a couple 20 snowflakes fell, but and it was cold. It's getting colder now here. and the friction under the skis becomes a little greater. Malishko, well, he might be, well, with 2 further World Cups to go, Malishko, I think, is at the moment securing himself into the World Cup team again, nailing himself in there.
Yeah, he's done nothing on the World Cup so far this year. Actually, the last time we saw him race in a World Cup was here last year. I think he was 92nd in a sprint event, and didn't get into favour at any stage. But if he holds the lead here or can extend it, then there's every chance we'll see him race next weekend.
I felt a little sorry for him. In October, he was. They had made the phone call to the Russian coach, and said, you know, is there a chance? Is he still going to be included in the Olympic selection? He wasn't brought into any of the World Cups, but I thought he was in great form in October, and I think he's showing his strength here, Malishko, again. He's up with a group of people here. Incredibly, October the 15th, these tracks open, no natural snow, all machine snow, but it's refrigerated under these tracks here, and it's beautiful. This hill is put in mid-October as well. Yeah,
there are 1 or 2 resorts that have obviously got the financial support. Vuokatti we know about, Torsby another that's built a tunnel, Idre in Sweden, where they were one of the very early resorts to say, look, artificial snow is the way to go at the start of the season.
Oh, very much. And Esa Hapala, he said you can't stand still in biathlon, you've got to keep forward thinking. He was part of the mindset to make this an early season venue. I know if I was coaching a national team, when you've got this hill and the tracks here, and in the mid-October, I think I would take them here rather than to a glacier.
Do you think you could get it to work around Loch Morlock, just up from your home?
Very much. You can, when you've got, it was 8 degrees warm here in October, but we were skiing every single day on a 4-kilometre track.
Yeah, I think you'd need a roof to keep the rain off.
Just chuck a bit more snow on. So Malishko will be feeling, it's been a while since he's felt this scenario where he leads into the range in a relay.
Yeah, good test for Malishko, because this becomes a mental challenge. He hit all 5 in the standing position in the sprint yesterday, and got himself up into the top 30, so he picked up some useful World Cup points. 26th position.
He was 3rd as well in the Olympic Games in Sochi when they won gold medal in this relay.
That was going to be spectacular, but just failed at the last. Now, can he clear it at the first time of asking? No one else has got a target down. No, that's too wide. Nerves might start jangling a little now for Malishko. Norway are on their way with Larby Lund. Ukraine even closer. They do clear 5 out of 5. The lead changes yet again. And Norway, Italy, can you believe it? Malishko shooting so quick. He's gone from 1st to 4th. Well, that might be the end of next weekend's racing.
Well, there was me saying he'll be nailed on, but he's got to now prove his worth on the track after that slight error. And I think this the crowds, he was shooting so fast in such a good rhythm, he thought about that last shot.
Yeah, Jesper Nellin will have been disappointed to see the 4 teams ahead of him all clear, but it was the speed with which Norway, the Ukrainians and the Italians, actually Dominic Vindish probably produced the best shoot of all. He was the last to get the first round down and rattled through 5. Jesper Nellin hits 5, so Sweden still in the hunt should the pressure get to those out front. And Germany, Mike, 59 seconds behind at one stage, with Eric Lesser skiing pretty well on that 2nd lap.
Jesper Nellin came into the range 1 minute behind. He's got out in 5th and he's pulled back 20 seconds to the lead time. That was spectacular. Sweden well and truly back in the race with Samuelsson taking the last leg.
For that to have happened, Mike, Italy, Norway and Ukraine all taking a lot of time before taking the first shot.
Yeah, they're building that stable position before they go for this crazy fast shooting.
Excitement starting to build in the Ukrainian team. Artem Prima on track at the moment. He's got 2.5k, or he's got less than 2.5 to go. It's a 2.5k loop into the finish and the 3rd exchange. Dmitry Pedrushny is waiting to go for the Ukrainians, and Pedrushny raced yesterday, finished 61st having missed 3 in the stand. So I'm not sure what the thinking was, putting him on the anchor leg rather than their current racer, Artem Prima.
Well, look at that, Malishko. He went out of the range 7 behind. He's almost caught them now. And he really had to do this. He had to, from going from 1st to 4th, and he needs to get Russia at least back in the mix.
Yeah, these 4 teams 32 seconds ahead, in fact more, 38 seconds ahead of the next best team, which at the moment is Sweden, and Sweden under a bit of pressure from France and Germany, who are in 4, 5 and 6, with Belarus outside the top 6. Let's say 4, 5 and 6, and then 5, 6 and 7. Here they come. Yeah, Nellin looks good, doesn't he, Mike? Very, very strong on the skate 2.
Oh, it's beautiful. Just the timing, the movement. He's the athlete, the only athlete so far who's kept a hold of skate 2 all the way up here. Everyone else is so steep, breaking into there in the background. One definite lead side, skate 1.
Strength and balance, the main requirement for skate 2 up such a steep climb.
Huge strength. You need huge strength through the stomach. I can't believe he double danced or skate 2'd all the way up here. Everyone else breaking into the steep climbing gear. Definite lead side.
But is it like a car? Well, I know it's like a car. You go too far in the wrong gear and you come to a grinding halt. In terms of skiing, you just build up the lactate.
It'll be interesting to see what happens next with Jesper Nellin. He was 35. Will that boiling lactic acid in his systems on the big steep wall coming up, will he suffer up this one? And look at it. Look at this climb. It's horrendous. They've just climbed quite a long way. It must be, what, 23, 24%.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see, as we saw in the women's sprint yesterday, sometimes better to take this at 85% and then use your energy in the last 600 meters into the finish, because there's a lot of time to be gained there. Anyone who works too hard on this climb has nothing left to give for the final stages. So Norway ahead of Italy at the moment. Russia are in 3. Ukraine looking a bit ragged in 4, but hanging on in there.
Vindish is on survival. He got a chariot or a carriage when he landed back in the Antholz Valley. So did Vera. She was there as well. A bit of a party time, but he's looking tired right now.
And Nellin, has he managed to close? He was 35 behind last time we saw. He came out of the range at 39.
I think we might see him having dropped just a little. We'll have to wait and see. Well, there's 35 now. 34.2.
Well, 3 teams we'd expect to be in the top 4, currently lying in 5, 6 and 7. And it's not really happened for Germany so far. Benedikt Doll is the last man to go, and we're almost back to that 59 second margin that we saw on the very first leg.
Hasn't gone Germany's way at all. When you look at the shooting, yes, 1 penalty, Luke. Total of 9 spare rounds used.
Yeah, Italy have done well when you consider they've done a penalty. Once again, Dorothy Vera, the culprit, just as she was in the Olympic Games. But she more than made up for it with some great standing shooting and a very, very quick last 2 laps.
Well, there was me saying Vindish is looking tired, but he's found some magic from somewhere.
Korea just going on to the range, so they're now 2.5 kilometers behind the race leaders, and that will be their last shoot of the day. Now, Vindish, good strength, but what's that 5 meters worth to Lukas Hofer? I wonder. Maybe he'd be better tucked in.
I do wonder, but then if Lukas Hofer, if he can just, he's got the strength, he's got the ski speed, if he can maintain this gap, I'm not sure he will, though.
if he can, they're going to win. But you know, with the shooting coming up, he's the sort of man that often is a very good chaser. We see him in the pursuits. He's a very good chaser.
He is indeed. But I do think with Tarja Bø there, he may well quickly try, and Samuelson coming up soon, although that's a big gap at 34. But this race is still wide open.
Samuelson from 39 is certainly going to have cut the gap, but only by a couple of seconds. The French were gaining, but then lost a little in the closing stages. Simon Dessieux started his leg very, very well. Away goes Sweden in 5, France in 6. But it's Italy who lead with 1 leg remaining. Benedict Dull, and he gets the gentlest of touches from, I nearly said Simon Schemp, it was Eric Lesser, of course, on that leg. And now we're down, are we down to 3 teams at the front? Have we had, have Ukraine lost a little bit of ground? No, of course, it's Italy who are out front. Lukas Hofer and the big 3 are chasing him down pretty rapidly. Taliabo leading the way in that chase group. It was 3.3, and it's down to half that now. Yeah, I think Hofer probably doing the right thing, Mike.
I think so. I mean, it is putting stress and strain on the 3 chasers right now. Taliabo, though, I think will close this gap quite soon. And no Svensson here this week, who's typically been the anchor man for what, the last 8 years for the Norwegian team. Now, is Samuelsson going to do the same as Jesper Nelland did up this climb? This gear, no, changing into skate 1.
There's a lot of spring in those legs. I like the style. Now, what's your theory on the foot recovery, Mike? I know early days of coaching, it was all about bring a recovery foot in until it touches the heel of the glide ski. Nowadays, to keep the tempo, do you think just keep them a bit further apart?
It's much wider, isn't it? As you say, the old days, bring the heels right together, but there isn't time. You want frequency like this, choppy, dynamic. But it's certainly the thinking is, of course, the non-lead side, bring the non-lead foot as far up into hill as possible, using the momentum as you change weight from ski to ski. Benedict Dahl, he's a real scrapper, grafter. Punches really hard out there. Oh, look at this, he's determined to close the gap, but it's a huge gap.
113 from 107, so actually it's going the wrong way for Benedict. Just wondering whether the Germans have had a ski issue, Mike, because it's very, very rare. We don't see them reduce the gap having lost it in a relay, and over the last 4 or 5 years that seems to have been a pattern. It used to be the Norwegians that would always make a mess of leg number 1 and then slowly close down on the leaders.
That's true. Sadly, for the German team, they haven't got the aura that they used to have for so many years. They had the aura that they were almost invincible, hardly ever off the podium in World Cup or major championships. But I felt a little sorry for them taking that 4th position by Tonio in this race at the Olympic Games, which was also a little controversial.
And of course they missed the medals in the women's relay.
That was a surprise. Laura Dahlmeier would have expected nothing less than at least a bronze.
Sweden were 38 behind and now at 28, so Samuelsson is working very, very hard on his lap and putting a little bit of distance between himself and Fionn Maillet. Fionn Maillet getting on the podium for the first time this season in the sprint event. That was a fantastic result for him, and after a season of poor results, Mike, you need a boost come the end, otherwise the next summer's training is somewhat depressing. 8
hard months. They'll have a little break at the end of the season. Boy, will they need it. But then straight back into hard work. Just listening to in the cross-country side, Jessie Diggins, I should say. She said, no, I'll start training again on the 1st of May. I'll have a couple of weeks off, then it's back to the grind.
113 to 109 for Benedict Dull, but not really doing the damage he needs to in the early stages. Teams we haven't seen for a while: Belarus, who threatened early on, back down into 8th. Kazakhstan, who we saw with the 2 women's legs, down in 9. Austria, weakened team because they put Julian Eberhardt and Hauser on the single mixed relay earlier on today. The Americans are down in 12, Finland 13, Canada down in 16 at the moment, having missed a total of 12 shots. So 12 spare rounds required from them now.
So Tariabo wanted lane 1, filling the range from the right. He's had some issues with his prone shooting, Tariabo, but hopefully with 3 spares he'll be more relaxed.
Good quick shooting from Maxim Svetkov. He's the first clear 5. Ukraine back on his heels, so it's all changed yet again. One more shoot to go in this relay, and the leading 4 teams are still all in there. Tariabo has a little bit of work to do, but I can't imagine that Svetkov's going to try and lead this out all the way through to the range. Lukasov are going well, pressure situation, but not half as pressurized as the final shoot in what, 5.5 minutes time.
Well, who'd have predicted those 4 teams at the front? None of them would have used a spare round. Samuelsson, he's tried to go fast. He pushed the pace on the track. He's going to have to use 2 spare rounds at least.
Chance of those first 4 teams going clear on the final shoot?
Very slim. Samuelsson's got a problem. I don't know what happened there. The bullet, he spent at least 9 seconds, 10 now. And it's put him off.
Yeah, danger of going on the penalty loop, but he skied faster than anyone else on that last 2.5 Ks, and he could lose a position not only to France and to Germany. And if he misses this one, then he's going to find himself way out of contention. Make your mistakes early in a relay. Give yourself time to make up for them. Well, he's got to do the same again on the snow. At least he can see the guys in front. So France and Germany still a target for Sweden, but you feel they're fighting it out for the minor positions. Tariabo. Well, that was nice and central.
Lascia che tiri lui, tranquillo, bravo, bravo.
One shoot still to go here in the mixed relay, the last race of the day. France with the victory in the single mixed relay earlier on today. It's not going to be France who do the double, because surely the winner coming from one of these 4 leading teams: Russia, Italy, Ukraine and Norway. Tariabo at 2.5, Mike. He's had to work put a bit of work in. He was 5 seconds down, and now settling in at the back of the lead group as we watch France and Germany fight it out.
France and Germany, you can always say in a relay that you always can predict that anything can happen, but I think with France at 104 behind, Germany at 105 and Sweden at 114, it's unlikely now that those teams would touch the podium. But you never know at the front. The pace is always intense as well, and it can put the shooting off.
So they'll settle themselves down, and Svetkov looked very, very comfortable in that prone shoot. What are we going to see from him in the stand, I wonder?
I don't think you would have predicted, or it would have, that any of these four, when they came in for the pro, that there wouldn't be one spare round used. They came in, into position, rapid fire, 5 out of 5. Tariabo was a little slower with his slight lack of confidence in his prone shooting, but he got them all. Just a little slower, 5 seconds slower.
Well, Lukas Hofer has the best standing shoot record of the leading four. With, well, actually, Svetkov has the best record with 84%. Hofer's on 81. Tariabo down at 79, and he missed one yesterday. What did Hofer do yesterday? He went 0-1, so he missed 1 out of the 5 in the sprint event. Svetkov the same, and Pedrushny missed 3. So I don't know how much money you want to put on the Ukrainians at this stage, but it's entirely up to you.
Well, I was just thinking Svetkov is suffering a little more on the track than certainly than Hofer, and certainly than Tariabo. And I think, well, I think it has to be a little bit of survival for Pedrushny as well. He came 61st 2 days ago, missing 4 targets.
Now, is Svetkov struggling, or is he intentionally slowing it down? I think he's trying to bring it down to a snail's pace.
He's wanting someone else to lead, isn't he? He doesn't want to take the lead up here. I thought he was suffering.
Well, that might be crafty tactics, and Ukraine are going to seize the opportunity and go through. Maybe Pedrushny has to take a risk. Fastest skier out of this group of 4, Mike. I think my money would still be on Hofer to claim that.
I think so. Tariabo is a good fighter, though, if it came to a bit of a gritty finish. But how many times we haven't often seen the pace coming in on the final shoot in a relay this slow? So they're all just trying to compose themselves for the fast 5 out of 5 shooting.
Yeah, so it's very difficult to choose a winner out of this one. It's going to come down to the shooting. Let's hope that we have at least 3 of these 4 fighting it out on the tracks for the win. We've got to bear in mind that Svetkov for Russia did not race in the Olympics, and we saw what form Shapulin was in a couple of days ago in the sprint event. So you could say he's got to be fresher than the others.
Pedrushny, sorry, very brave, taking the pace to want to come in first position. Clearly confident.
Hofer, of course, bronze medalist in the mixed relay at the Olympic Games.
First shot in 10 seconds from stopping time.
2 first to clear, then go and miss targets. So advantage Russia at the moment with Svetkov, 3 out of 3. This is good, solid, sensible shooting from the Russian. But Ukraine, even with a spare round, are the first to clear 5, and Pedrushny's on the chase. Russia, Norway, Italy, all clear at the same time. The race is still on, and it's a 4-way fight for the win here. Pedrushny, what's he going to have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5.5 seconds over Tariabo. Now, he's not going to have this easy. And you certainly, in a straight race over 2.5K, I'm not sure you'd back Pedrushny to win, but it's a fascinating situation. France, Germany, Sweden have been raced out of this one. Just pride between these 3. And Samuelsson needs the shoot of the season to get back on terms with the 2 teams around him. In fact, he should be able to overtake Germany.
Well, Fiumae, that was beautiful, composed. His form is still good. 3rd position 2 days ago, still on form 2 days later.
2.5K, he won't close down the 35 seconds.
Penalty loop
for Germany, disaster. And Samuelsson can now take it easy, because if he clears all the targets, then 5th place should be guaranteed, but not if he goes on missing. 6th place should be guaranteed. Just. Well, now he's got a race on his hands, because Samuelsson and Dole will be together. So there you have your top 7 teams, and Pedrushny it is leading for Ukraine. The margin 5.5 seconds. We'll get a split time fairly shortly. Tariabo in 2nd place, was in 2nd place, but he's surrendered that to Lukas Hofer, who's going to make the chase. And That's a brave decision from Bo, because he's got to rely on Hofer closing down on Ukraine, Mike. Pedrushny's not hanging around, is he?
That's incredible. Pedrushny, he went into that range with purpose. He wanted lane one. He wanted to try and take the pace in so they were more out of breath. He thought it was too easy coming in. So far, he's living with it. I'm not sure he's going to survive, though, to the finish line.
Well, you know, what is he, 35th in the World Cup standings, Pedrushny, which wouldn't give you the indication he's going to be able to hold off Hofer and Tadej Bo. But he did show good form in Oberhof, where it was really windy, so we saw some strange results there. But still, your money would be on Italy and Norway, and they are closing down. Svetkov hanging in there, but with every stride, that head gets a little bit lower. He's got to be careful, or his nose is going to be dragging along the snow.
He's a tired man. Svetkov is suffering right now. Pedrushny, he's gone very early. Of course, this is for what, 5th place now. France clearly safe in 5th.
Not where they wanted to be, but a slightly weakened team with both Fourcade's missing. Martin Fourcade has, as we mentioned earlier, had gastroenteritis, which is horrible, and certainly you don't want to risk racing when your belly is feeling like that. And of course, Simon Fourcade, who had an attack of vertigo during the sprint race. He still managed to finish it, but the team insisted that he go back to France and get himself checked out, because it was worrying scenes. But all credit to him for carrying on. But the sensible thing might have been to back off. And it's Lukasz Hofer, Mike, who's caught the Ukrainians, and he's brave enough to go through at this stage. Tadej Bo doesn't look to have the energy required to compete for the win here.
I'll have to say, at this stage in the season, okay, World Cup, what are we, 7? Everybody looking exhausted after the Olympics, and guess what? They're still to come up this climb. Brutal. Svetkov, can he survive this climb? He needs to be with the pace. He needs to get a little closer to Norway.
Now we see a little push from Tadej Bo, wanting to get back into 2nd place so he can match a move if it's made by Lukasz Hofer. Pedrushny hanging on in there, and Svetkov is fading badly. That's a horrible sight for the Russians. They're not going to get in the top 3 if he continues like that. Still, the question is, who's going to win this one? Is it going to be Italy? Can Norway get yet another win? The most successful nation by, well, I was going to say by a country mile. It was a tight fight with Germany, but in terms of per head of population, Norway were outstanding.
I think
at the Olympics.
They were. Andreas Zingerli, I think he knows, and he's got faith in his man who's breaking away out front, so he knows it's a gold at the moment for Italy.
Yeah, Tadej Bo looking like his brother over the last 500 meters. He was exhausted, and the rest of the Italian team know that the victory is coming their way. Ukraine looked delighted with 2nd place. Celebrations from Merkashina and Vita Shemerenko, who was outstanding, actually, Mike. Shemerenko's 2nd leg was a brilliant performance by her.
I'm very, very impressed with Pedrushny. Remember, at the Olympics, he only came 21st, hitting all 10 targets in the sprint competition. He's really lifted his form now.
Relay wins for the Italian team are a rare thing, but they've got one here tonight. It's been a tremendous performance from the team that took the bronze medal in the Olympic Games. Vera Vitozzi Vindish, who was a little bit shaky, and then of course Lukasz Hofer, who was anything but under such a pressure situation. Brilliant shooting, brilliant skiing from Hofer to take the win for Italy. Ukraine 2, and Norway having to settle for 3rd.
Well, Tadej Bo, I'm a little surprised. He is a spent force, totally and utterly exhausted.
And he's got a race again tomorrow.
And poor old Svetkov, it looked good for a lot of the race. His shooting was fantastic, but he didn't have the ski speed.
Good fight from Pedrushny. The Ukrainians, having done nothing all year, got themselves on form. There's Dorothy Vera on the left of your screen.
Beating up Hofer.
She's delighted. And I tell you what, I've got a soft spot for the Italians now, because when they got that bronze medal in the mixed relay, however controversial it was with the finish, they were so happy. And it wasn't just the athletes, it was the technicians. Everyone joined that party instantly. And I think the whole stadium actually in Pyeongchang warming to the Italian team.
Very much. And they say, of course, you're living together for 6 straight months, 5 months of racing. The year, so many camps, they have to get on well. They do get on well, and it's party time for Italy tonight.
France crossed the finish line almost unnoticed in 5th position. Not a great outing for them. Durana, Bear, Béchamp, Dessieux Schulte and Fillon Maillet. And Sweden, Germany having a fight for the line. Samuelsson of Sweden just ahead of Benedict Doll, who gives up the chase. But he's not, what's that about? What's that about? Just because he got blocked?
Didn't see anything happening controversially. Maybe he's just so disappointed that Germany's 7th.
But it makes no difference to the top 3. Italy, Ukraine, Norway on the podium here today. Well, that means an extra few sales from the local wine store, I think, for the Italian team tonight. But
wait a minute, there's a race tomorrow.
There is a race tomorrow, but they won't be able to buy it on Sunday night, so they'll have to get it tonight.
They will.
And start their celebrations. Nice to see, Mike, and give credit to Hoffa. That was a tough situation with 4 going for the win.
Oh, it was a tough situation. He had to, first of all, close those 5 seconds down on Pegrushny. He then had to reform his thinking. What's the best strategy? And I think he had to take the pain up the steep climb. And as soon as he knew he had 2 seconds at the top of the steep climb, he knew he could win it.
Austria some way off the mark today, but we've mentioned why that is. And I'll tell you, I think the best bit of news for the Austrians is that Hauser is skiing much better, and Julian Eberhardt skiing almost as fast as he was at his prime last year.
And his shooting was so much better.
Yeah, watch out for him in the closing stages of the season.
And that was his older brother, Toby, just finishing there for Austria.
USA have made a top 10, but nowadays with the strength they have aiming for top 5. Slovakia in 10th position. They started well though. The Fialkova sisters, I thought, did a great job. They were in the top 3 when they handed over. Yeah, Kuzmina, just like Kaisa Mäkäräinen, saving herself for tomorrow's mass start. There's an epic battle taking place for the women's overall globe. Mäkäräinen currently in the lead, and it's not too bad. She's got a 35-point lead over Kuzmina, but you know, we saw Kuzmina throw away 35 points in one race, so it can, in fact, she threw away 50 points in one race. So Mäkäräinen is by no means guaranteed to take the Crystal Globe this year. Not at all. So much can change. You don't expect such a sway in points. Of course, Kuzmina missing 4 targets yesterday. No, that was one of the best relays we've seen this season, Mike, and I think for the first time in any race we've had 4 racing for the line coming out of the range for the last time. It was fantastic, and I think a great job from Pegrushny. Not the fastest on skis, but he found some magic today. And Juraj Sanitra, we saw him scoping on the range. He's always a positive figure in the Ukraine team when he's there on the range. So Estonia 15, Japan, who did pretty well in the single mixed relay earlier on today, certainly featured for the first 2/3 of the race. They finished 16th ahead of Canada, and the Canadian team, well, they roast Rosanna Crawford earlier, so missing, you know, not quite their strongest team. And with a team like Canada and Austria, it's quite difficult. Do we focus on the mixed relay, or do we focus on the single mixed? Norway, Mike, what do you make of their effort? Anywhere where you think they threw it away? Well, when you look at their shooting, it was pretty good. They weren't on the penalty loop here today. Yeah, 30 seconds behind after leg 1. Yes, Sulemdal. You know, if you then put Ulsbu in this one, then clearly you've got a much stronger, faster skier. They could well have challenged, you would expect them to have challenged for the gold, but then most teams kind of switched and made a strong single mixed relay team and a strong mixed relay team, but no one went for the absolute power team, I would suggest. And I think all the viewers would have realised that most of the shooting problems came on the prone shoot rather than the stand. It's quite strange today, and although Ukraine showing us that only 3 spare rounds used, so they only had to, from what, 40 shots fired, just 3 second chances. Yeah, and Slovenia, the only team that have matched them, but just looking, I'm not sure the Slovenians haven't been penalised for something, because every time some other team comes in, they jump ahead of them. So that's usually an indication that they've done something wrong on the range. It's not miscounting the penalty loops, because they haven't had any to ski. Interesting. Sulendal in picture with Henrik Lund. Nice to see him get a run out. He's been trying to get in the Norwegian relay for many years. That must be a bit depressing, Mike, when you've got, you've got the two Berg brothers, you've got Svensson, you've had Bjorndalen.
Yeah, but over the years, and of course he's been kept out for many years. He's been around for, what, 12, 13 years. But tomorrow, with Ole Einar Bjorndalen getting a start tomorrow, I think he's bib 26 provisionally in the mass start. We'll get confirmation tomorrow. But it looks like Bjorndalen will get a start. So will Lund.
This is Swanjos for Poland. And the Poles lost time early on. They've done 4 penalty loops. And that's an extra 600 meters, of course, but then you've got to add up all the time that those spare rounds took, and that adds what, 3.5, 4 minutes. That's been a classic across the line. And of course we've got Korea at the bottom of the leaderboard as well.
Yeah, Korea have been lapped, so they were withdrawn and they missed one target early on.
So there you have the standings, and Italy with a fantastic win, despite the fact they did a penalty loop on the 2nd lap. Dorothy Vera. Now, if she tidies up the prone in the relay situations, Italy are going to have a really strong team throughout. Ukraine too. That's the best we've seen from any Ukrainian so far this year, and Norway in 3rd position. They're used to winning, so they won't be so happy with 3rd, but at least they're on the podium. And Russia, Mike, just running out of gas over the last 2Ks.
Oh, Shvetkov, he did everything right when it came to the first leg, when it came to both shooting, but he didn't have the energy, he didn't have the pace to survive with the Hofer. Pegrushny setting all the angry pace early on in that last lap.
I don't know what's happened to the Czech Republic today, because they had a disaster in the single mixed relay. They finished